and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. For this second Commodities Corner of the week, I'm chatting to Dr. Thierry Bros from Societe Generale to discuss the current market trends, making it particularly difficult to put a price on gas. Thierry, you say that we are entering a no-demand growth energy world in Europe, but what do you mean by that?
In fact, for the past, what we were saying is we've passed peak in terms of gas demand, in terms of electricity demand in Europe. And now what we are saying is not only have we passed peak, but there is no demand in front of us. Why is there no demand in front of us? Because the economic recovery is going to be very slow. And on top of this, there will be more efficiency kicking into Europe. So what we are saying is, well, in electricity, there is no demand growth, and in gas, there is no demand growth. Because on top of this world where you see poor economic growth, efficiencies kicking in, you also have the renewables that are kicking in terms of the energy mix. So in gas, no demand growth.
Now, despite these trends, Gazprom's market share in Europe is actually increasing. Why is this, and what impact could it have on diversification?
That's a very interesting outtake we found out. I mean, we've seen Ukrainian crisis in plural. The last one was in 2009. And when we look at what Europe has achieved since the last crisis, in fact, what we found out is Europe has made the gas network more resilient. Europe has helped reverse flow to be built in the system. So CapEx were dedicated to allow gas to flow not only as they used to be east versus west, but also west versus east. But you're absolutely right. The second outcome, diversification, wasn't achieved. And even as I said, in this no demand growth, Gazprom market share is increasing. So I think this is a very interesting thing to keep in mind when we look at what's going to be the outcome of this crisis. What we are saying is, well, Europeans are linked to Russia, and in fact, because Russian gas is quite cheap and therefore can compete with other gases, so far we didn't manage to reduce the share of Russian gas into our European gas mix.
The question of diversification of supply post-2020 is currently being discussed in Brussels. What difficulties do you think exist here?
That's exactly where the policymakers have to think of. Well, if it's just the grid, it's done. So the question is what we do next. And the question is, well, if we need increased diversification of supply, this means that we will need to find new suppliers. And again, those new suppliers will be more expensive. So the question is, diversification of supply comes with an extra cost. And this is very difficult. So how much are we prepared to pay for this extra diversification of supply? And again, if you go back to market will tell you, well, we don't pay, we take the cheapest one. And Russia has, and this is what they've done recently, they have the ability to reduce prices to make other gas, new competitors, not entering the market. So it's going to be a very tricky question in Brussels. Again, as I said, in 2009 we failed to achieve this. Perhaps this time we will try new ways, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I think Russia and Gazprom, because they are sitting on the biggest, one of the biggest gas reserves on a worldwide basis, and because it's the cheapest producer, they have the ability to make sure that the price they charge a customer is always competitive versus other competition.
And how do you think Russia will adapt their pricing accordingly, Thierry?
What we've said in our recent notes is gas prices have gone down by 20% in the last 3 months. And we think it's not only due to a warm or a mild winter. We think it's also due to Russia having understand that there are threats of new competitors entering the market. Those new competitors can be either US LNG, that could enter the market post-2018, or Azeri gas, Shah Deniz 2, entering the market post-2020. And what we think today is gas prices in Europe, at the level they are today versus the level they were back 3 months ago, are now making those projects non-profitable. And so therefore it's going to be very difficult for operators and sponsors of those projects to say, well, we will continue those projects and we will dedicate those projects when it's US LNG to Europe, because again, it's not going to be profitable at today's level. So I think Russia has managed to reduce prices because they have this market power. Again, as back to your first question, the market share of Gazprom in Europe is around 27%, and so therefore it's going to be very difficult. The question of security of supply is what policymakers are prepared to pay for this. And if I had to think of what could be the outcome of this crisis, what I would say is perhaps Europe will have to be much tougher in terms of not foreign gas or foreign oil, but about where we want to reduce fossil fuel in our energy mix, full stop.
And just lastly, you've spoken about your price scenario, but where could the main risks emanate from?
We've reduced gas prices in the recent note, as you've seen. What we are saying is there is more downside to upside to this, because again, if you're in a no demand growth world, and if you want to keep your competitors at bay, then you may have a vested interest in making sure that the price today is really making the competition feel that their project shouldn't be profitable in the longer term. And again, with this crisis coming on top, I think there is very difficult. It's not going to be very interesting for the Russians to increase prices soon. So again, I think we could see prices in the $9 per million BTU or even lower for quite a sustained period of time.
Thierry, thank you very much for your perspective today. Well, that's all from Thierry and myself for the moment. The Dukascopy TV team has plenty more to bring you on this Thursday, so make sure you keep clicking back to the website. Goodbye for now.